Do you have all the things they say should make you happy, but you still feel unfulfilled? Are you always doing what you should do? Or do you never feel like you're enough? And you want to feel better, more fulfilled, more aligned, and more comfortable in your own body? Then this is the show. Scared as fuck and doing it anyway, showing up authentically. My name is Paula Schuster, and I'm a self-love and authenticity coach. My life completely changed when I started loving myself again, putting myself first, and being true to me. This is the show that's going to help you get out of being stuck, out of the cycles of self-abandonment, and help you choose yourself without feeling selfish. It will give you not only inspiration, but awareness, courage, and insights to make changes and live your life for you. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Scared as Fuck and Doing It Anyway, Showing Up Authentically podcast. I'm your host, Paula Schuster, and today I'm doing a solo episode about authenticity. It's about fucking time, huh? It's been on my mind for a long time to do this episode. Actually, ever since I had the idea to do a podcast about authenticity, this has been on my mind. And I have to thank my friend Amanda for this one, because when I was reaching out to friends for feedback about me doing a podcast about authenticity, so this is before I even started anything with it, she gifted me with the question of, what do you mean when you say authentic or when you talk about authenticity? And she asked, what are examples? Because she said, most people think that they're being authentic to themselves when they really might not be. So it would be helpful to give specific examples. So Amanda is the inspiration behind this episode. Thank you, Amanda. I hope you're listening. And, I also have to be truthful about the fact that I've been putting this episode off a little bit because I've been scared about doing a solo episode again, which is ridiculous because it's my podcast and it's about authenticity and about being scared as fuck and doing it anyway. And it's what my podcast is about. And I'm still working on myself and practicing putting myself out there fully in this way. So I'm giving myself grace, and I'm saying I'm human just like you. I did do a couple of solo episodes at the beginning, right around the time I launched the podcast. And then I've just been doing interview episodes. So I got into that groove and into that comfort zone and out of practice with doing solo episodes and kind of in my head. So I've been working through that, and I still am as I'm sitting here recording. I think there's multiple reasons why I've been scared about doing this episode and I've been putting it off. I fell back into old habits. I'll just be honest. There's one sort of pattern, an old habit that I have that I practiced for a really long time. So it's hard for me to recover from it. And that's that thinking that there are expectations of me that I have to meet, that people out there have expectations of me. And it's this false thing that I build up in my head, like I'm expected to have and know all the stuff about authenticity because I have a podcast about it. And that's just not true. It's a bullshit story that my ego is holding on to keep me small, and what it thinks is safe. And it's just not true. So part of what was holding me back is, I got to have all the things. I got to be able to say all the things. What if I miss something? Well, then I do, I'm human. This is what I know. This is what I've been able to think of till this point. And there it is. So all I know is coming back to a place where I love myself again has helped me be confident to be my authentic self, which has all completely changed my life for the better. And so that's what I'm here for. It's my mission to help others love themselves so they are confident to be their authentic selves and live as their authentic selves. Because we only have one life, right? People, we can't be living it for everybody else. At least, I was doing that for over 35 years of my life, and I'm not doing it anymore. And my belief in this mission of mine is that it will have a ripple effect, that people will love themselves. So there'll be more love in our families and more love in our communities and more love in our society, and from there out into our world. So that's what my mission is. That's what I'm here for. And authenticity is part of that. I believe, really, truly, strongly believe that we have this world where so many people are unhappy because they aren't being authentic to themselves, because they don't love themselves enough to be authentic. So there you have it. So what is authenticity? It's a lot and a lot of different things, and it's very simple at the same time. So here are all the things that I can think of that I think authenticity is. And it starts with just, it's the true you, it's your true personality, your spirit, your values, and what you really think and feel, not what someone else installed in you. It's your originality, it's not false. It's being honest with yourself and others. It's being true to you no matter what. It's when you don't act or be a certain way to fit in because you fit in with yourself. It's belonging to yourself. Because if you try to fit in and belong with other groups and you change yourself in order to do that, then you really don't belong to them or yourself. So it's really just belonging to yourself. And that way you fit in everywhere you go. Because you fit in with yourself. So, not being worried or about being accepted and not being worried about what other people are saying or doing and just doing our own thing anyway. Not being the good girl or the good boy, that's all conditioning to keep us small and to dim our natural light. And I know that, I can just, let me just take a side note here. Like I have personal experience with all of these things because I wasn't living authentically to me for so many years of my life. And so like I can relate to all of these things. Like I was trying to be the good girl for so many freaking years. And I was all, I was just covered in my conditioning. And so that aside, I can relate to all this stuff. So authenticity is not being the good girl or good boy. It's allowing yourself to evolve and change rather than being or doing the same thing all of your life. We're not meant to do the same thing all of our life. We are meant to grow and change and evolve. It's not putting yourself in a box, not putting masks on to please other people or to fit in or to meet expectations. It's choosing what you want to do, following your heart's desires. What are you passionate about? Rather than doing what you think you have to do because you're worried about money or you're worried about fulfilling somebody else's expectations. It's feeling fulfilled in your soul and not trying to live your life and living your life for you, living according to your own rules and desires, checking your own boxes instead of everyone else's, parents, societies, whomever's. It's not making choices and decisions based on what you think you should do or based on how somebody else is going to feel, but rather what feels right to you. And sometimes we don't know what feels right at first, and that's okay. Let it evolve, let it develop. And I know that can kind of be scary to be in that place, but if you really just sit and get quiet with yourself, it comes. The should do though, if you take a look around, if you listen, if you listen to yourself and others around you, I encourage you to do this and just take note of how often you and others are saying, oh, I should do this, I should do that. Says who? Says fucking who? Stop with the shoulds. We need to stop with the shoulds and just do what we want to do, what our needs and wants are, and what feels right to us. We each have our own self-agency. We don't have to listen to what everyone else says about what society says and has said is true. Truth is different for each of us, and that's okay. That's the way it should be. So just a little side note here. I forgot to mention at the beginning of this episode that we have people working in our house today. We're having some painting done and they're working on some ceilings and stuff. And so if there's noise in the background, I apologize, but that's what's going on. So back to authenticity, and this topic. Sometimes when we're doing what we think we should do, life produces roadblocks that seem difficult and even maddening at the time. But this is the universe telling us that what we think we want or what we think we should do isn't really what we need. And I say this as I'm thinking back in my past and, how many times I've just forged on through, and even though my body was telling me, and all of these things, I was getting these signs from the universe, and I wasn't listening to them at all. I was just sort of forging through and pushing through. We need to listen. We need to receive these messages. They're encouraging us to follow another path. So yeah, again, I don't know how many times I ran into problems, issues, difficulties when I was doing what I thought I should do. And sometimes it took me many, many times and many years before I finally learned, oh, I'm supposed to, this is, it's telling me that this isn't the right path for me. I'm supposed to, do something differently. So we listening to our intuition, to our bodies, all that's part of this, and to the signs the universe is giving us. Authenticity is honoring what we really want and need instead of abandoning ourselves. We abandon ourselves in so many different ways, big and small, every single day. And this contributes to the fact that we don't love ourselves, that we don't feel like we can show up authentically. And it can be as big as going for a career that we know that we don't want, but we do it because it's what our parents want, or what will pay the bills. And it can be as small as agreeing to drive a friend somewhere when we don't really want to. But it's in all of these little micro decisions, or macro, every day where we're abandoning ourselves. So saying no to things that we don't really want to do when it doesn't feel right is authentic. When something doesn't feel right and we say no, that's authentic. When something doesn't feel right and we say yes, that's not authentic. It's not just, doing it for the other person. That's rooted in something else, whether it's people pleasing or whatever. It's not being authentic to us, and it's self-abandonment in some way. Authenticity is following what makes you happy and what brings you joy, wearing what you want to wear, taking a stand and having a point of view rather than keeping the peace and following along with the crowd. Authenticity is the courage to be imperfect, to be vulnerable, and to set boundaries. It's not trying to control everything. It's being real, being true to our soul, being true to our own self-expression, owning our feelings, our opinions, our words, and the choices we make. Expressing our honest feelings, which so many of us don't do. I mean, we have to stop lying to ourselves, because we live in a vibrational universe, which means it doesn't matter what we say, it matters what we mean. Because what we mean is the vibration that we're putting out, and that's what gets reflected back to us. Coop Blackson talked about this in the episode where I interviewed him. Like, we have to stop lying to ourselves. We need to get honest with ourselves if we want to truly be authentic and have the life that we want. We need to stop being in the relationship that we don't want to be in. We have to stop pretending like we like our jobs or that we can tough it out until retirement. We have to stop hanging around people and friends and family who don't serve us, who don't accept us maybe, or whatever the case. We have to let go and stop all the lying to ourselves. I mean, if we don't, it's going to manifest in other ways, right? It's going to manifest in other, either mental health issues or even physical disease. Yeah, listening to our gut and our inner senses, our intuition, the chills that we get when something happens, or when someone says something, or when you read something, that's all, authenticity. That's your inner being, your intuition talking to you. Authenticity is taking risks and allowing yourself to be fully seen and heard, which can be really fucking scary. Being vulnerable means, the ability to be hurt and wounded. And that doesn't feel very good, right? But it's better to be authentic. Our biggest strengths, our biggest reasons to keep going every day is to be authentic. And sometimes that means we have to make difficult choices about where we go and who we hang out with and the things that fuel us. It will pay off in the end. And when we're in alignment with our inner being, with what feels right to us, we're going to feel the difference, right? Feeling comfortable in our own body. Our bodies tell us when we're not in alignment with our inner being and with what's true to us. You feel at ease and peaceful on the inside, in your heart and soul, Because one thing is for sure, we don't feel this way when we aren't authentic to ourselves. I mean, I had all, like I mentioned, I had all sorts of signs going on when I was in my corporate job all those years. I thought I had low level anxiety, and I was nervous all the freaking time. And it was my body telling me I was in the wrong place and I just wasn't listening. Yeah. Authenticity is freedom. So, Christina Driscoll and I talked about this on the episode where I interviewed her, truly feeling free. Authenticity is our greatest freedom. I think was a quote by Christina Driscoll. And boy, is that true. I not only felt shackled to chains in my corporate job for all my life, I felt shackled and not free in so many other ways because I was trying to meet everybody else's expectations and I was trying to people please and I was, putting everybody else before myself. And so I felt like trapped in all these ways, not only, and also trapped in relationships because I wasn't being honest with myself about who I really, wanted to be with. I was staying where it was comfortable and safe. And so I wasn't free in any area of my life. Authenticity is true happiness and a happy and cared for inner child, inner teenager, inner young adult, inner adult, all of the ages up until this point, a cared for inner you. Rebecca Gillis and I talked about this on the episode where I interviewed her. It's so important to our happiness, and our inner child, our inner you, our inner selves. Authenticity is fully accepting ourselves, our body, how we act, our feelings, our thoughts, and getting rid of any resistance to ourselves and just accepting all that is, feeling at home within ourselves. That's authentic. The more you accept yourself, the easier it becomes to radiate your love to others. And then your light just shines on others naturally, simply by being you. And I know this because people tell me this now that I've changed and done all this work. And now that I love myself and I'm being more authentic, I get these kinds of comments all the time. Like, oh, you're just radiating, you're so bright. You're like aging backwards. Like, and it's just because I love myself and I'm being my authentic self. So loving yourself, which is choosing yourself and putting yourself first and caring for yourself. It's learning to not feel selfish about that, right? So loving ourselves is choosing ourselves and putting ourselves first and not feeling selfish about it. And that's hard one. The ability to choose ourselves without feeling selfish, it can be really hard because we're deeply conditioned to do the opposite. It's actually not selfish to put ourselves first. It's how we serve others better. It's how we teach our kids to do the same for themselves if you're a parent. And it leads to all things like managing emotions better, being more confident in yourself, being curious, learning, not being scared to have a point of view, and on and on and on. This is why people aren't happy, why we have an epidemic of people pleasing running rampant across the world, because women, especially, everyone though, but women were conditioned to be this way. And women have been raising the girls and the boys. So now it's everywhere and it's a problem and we need to change it. And it starts with being true to ourselves, loving ourselves and putting ourselves first. I can tell you from experience that this gets easier with practice. And yes, the people around you will, it'll be a change for them at first, but they get used to it too. And if they don't, then they fall away, and that's okay because you find your true tribe anyway. Authenticity is being curious about yourself. Authentic connection is built on curiosity, both with yourself and others. So just like we need to be willing to explore other people's interests, passions, dreams, etc., to get to know them and have a really, connected conversation about or with them, we need to be curious about those things when it comes to ourselves too. So we have an authentic connection with ourselves. So many of us are not connected to ourselves because we don't love ourselves and we aren't being authentic. And how do you know if you're not connected with yourself? When somebody asks you, what do you want? Or what are your heart's desires? And you don't know, then you're not really connected. Authenticity is knowing and feeling that you're worthy just by your very existence, just by the fact that you are breathing today. It's not trying to prove your worthiness through productivity or accomplishments like society makes us think we have to do. Like I was in that world for 30 years or 35 years or more. Um, but it's not, it's knowing that we're worthy of everything just because we exist, right? We wouldn't be here if we weren't. Authenticity is being in flow, not putting a stop to our growth because of what other people might say, not listening to limiting belief patterns. It's standing in our strength, because the more we do, the more we stand in our strength, the more we call people forward to their strength. It's not watering yourself down to be acceptable or accessible to everyone else, to appeal to their egos and instead of their higher selves. Not wanting to make waves or protect others, or sometimes we think it's protecting ourselves. Authenticity is moving from a place of our highest and best. And it turns out that that's really what people, love anyway. That's what people are attracted to more anyway. People can feel that energy, when you're not moving from an authentic place, from your highest and best. It can be felt. Feeling like you're in your purpose is authentic, like you're doing what your soul calls you to do. And spoiler alert, it's not working in a fucking soul-sucking corporate job that you think you're happy with because it's not that bad and the people are nice and you like the paycheck. That's not in your purpose. It's finding something that you like doing that also helps and serves others. And this is going to change all the time, and that's okay too. You're meant to learn and grow and evolve constantly. You're meant to do this. You aren't meant to do the same thing all your life. Like I thought that at one point in my life, but now I know that not to be true. And let me let you in on another little secret. Like we came to this earth, our souls came to this earth to experience all the things. And we don't want a pile of things that we think we do, that money can give us. We want fulfillment and joy and happiness and connection and growth and love. We want to serve our fellow humans, right? I mean, think about it. How great do you feel when you give to others, or when you volunteer for nothing in return, or when you're really generous, when you're helping out a friend and it really makes a difference to them? That's the best feeling. That's what fills our hearts, not the pile of things. The pile of things gives us a 20-second hit. And that's it. Authenticity is not being hijacked by the conditioning that we received all of our lives from our parents, families, teachers, all the authorities around us, doctors, everyone. It's questioning the beliefs that were passed down by our parents and all the people around us, and asking ourselves what we really believe. And boy, is this a process, but man, does it help. It helps you come into what your authenticity is, and it helps change your beliefs too. We're told to think and act and what to do and what to say, rather than being encouraged to go on our own, right? And our education system is a huge culprit and part of this, which I won't get into. That's probably a whole nother episode in and of itself. How about being nice to ourselves? That's authentic. Having a good relationship with yourself, treating yourself like you treat your best friend or your child or your partner, assuming that you treat them well. Having positive self-talk, internal and external. And again, what does that look like? It's not only what you're saying to yourself in your mind quietly, right? When you look in the mirror or whatever, or when someone gives you a compliment and you're like denying that in your head, but it's externally. It's like what you say out loud about yourself, how you refer to yourself. Like I remember I used to say things like, oh, I'm such an idiot. I forgot such and such, when I would forget something, or when I would spill something, or whatever it was. Or I hear people say, oh, I'm so negative, or I'm this or that, or I'm so anxiety ridden. Like all those words, like it carries energy, and your mind, your brain doesn't know that you don't really mean it. That you're just saying it because it's a figure of speech or whatever. So it soaks in and it seeps in. So we need to really be aware of positive self-talk, both internally and externally. And slowing down so you can start to know and hear yourself is also part of all of this. Part of how we're treating ourselves, but also part of being authentic, slowing down to allow peace and ease and fun in your days, not being so caught up in the busyness of life. I mean, being caught up in the busyness of life and being busy just means you're more easily controlled because you are disconnected from yourself. When you slow down and allow peace and ease in your days and you start connecting with yourself, then you're harder to control. Play is authentic. Talk about being super authentic. Go back to what you liked as a kid and what brought you joy. That's authenticity. Back to before someone started telling you to stop being too much this and too much that, and don't get dirty and be a good girl and don't speak unless you're spoken to and look nice and don't make waves and blah, blah, blah. Like going back to what brought us joy and what things were like when we were a kid, that's super authentic. Feeling connected to others, realizing that we're one with everyone and everything, with all living things. There's one consciousness. I believe that there's one consciousness that we're all part of, and we're really all one. And so all of our energies, all this inauthentic energy, all this like meanness that we are to ourselves, it actually, that then affects our vibe that we're putting out, and that affects the collective energy of everybody. And that's why we have the world that we live in, right? One of my favorite teachers says, we are masterpieces because we are pieces of the master. And we are someone because we are some of the one. Think about that. I love those. Authenticity is your highest and greatest gift to this world. And it's the ultimate act of self-love. And self-love is healing. So follow that. Follow that. I believe we would have much happier people, communities, society, cities, states, countries, just what I said at the beginning of this episode, and a much happier world if we all stepped into being our most authentic selves. Like, I really believe that's the key, and that's why I say that's my mission, helping people with that. And that's why I say that's what I'm here for. I know how much of a difference it's made in my life, and people can feel it, because when you're coming from a place of truth and beauty, it can't help but emanate from you. For as long as I can remember, I looked to other people around me for how to be, how to act, what to say, how to think, all the fucking things. I was always looking for things outside myself, and I was miserable. I suffered a shit ton. I kept myself hidden. I didn't really know who I was. My body held on to unneeded weight. I had constant low-level anxiety. I was constantly trying to numb myself with drugs and alcohol because my life was so undesirable that I didn't want to be there for it. My relationships were surface level. I felt alone and like everything was on my shoulders solely. I was angry and resentful. I doubted myself, and the list goes on and on. Like, it's because I didn't love myself and because I wasn't living authentically. And now, like, after doing a ton of inner work and holding myself accountable and taking radical responsibility for my life, learning how to love myself again, and taking the time to find out who I really am and allowing myself to be anything I want to be in the moment, I'm the happiest I've been in all my life. I'm physically and mentally healthier than I've ever been. I've lost 70 pounds. I feel younger. I have more energy. I've helped heal my nervous system, get it out of those trauma responses. I'm totally in tune with my intuition, and I listen to the whispers that I hear, and I follow the breadcrumbs that the universe puts in front of me. I believe in myself. I believe that anything's possible. I recognize and feel my own power. I have deeper connections with people and better relationships with the people who mean most to me. I'm showing my kids a much better example of what we are capable of, right, as humans, and what life has to offer. I have a positive outlook, and I see the world so much differently. I like I said, I believe everything's possible. And I never thought that was possible. So many things were possible for me. I thought those things only happen for some people. And now I know that they're available to me too. I experience synchronicities. I trust that I'm on the right path. I follow my heart's desires, and I live a life that's mostly full of peace and ease and love. And that doesn't mean that my life is perfect and that every day is totally positive and only full of joy. You know, I'm still human and I have off or bad days. They're just fewer and far between, and they don't last as long. or, there aren't as many of those days in a row. And I still can't wait to wake up for my life each day. And I can't even believe that I say that. Even if there's sadness or frustration or things aren't working out the way that I want them to, I've learned to just accept it all and welcome it all and let it be and just go with the flow. And things are just so much easier. Being my authentic self now, after not being my authentic self for so long, being able to express myself truly is like being brand new. Honestly, it's like that song by Ben Rector, which I love so much, Brand New. So whatever you're looking for outside of yourself, I encourage you to give it to yourself. Love up on yourself. Find and discover your true self. It's the foundation of everything. It's the best thing that you can do for you and everyone around you, is to love yourself and be yourself unconditionally. Let it all be okay. Let go of what other people think. Not everyone is going to like you, and that's okay. There's people you don't like. Let other people not like you. Let's set down the ton of shit that we're carrying for people who don't even really matter, and let ourselves be us. Like, let yourself be you. Set down that shit. Let people have their experience. If they don't like you, fucking let it happen. Who gives a shit? It matters. It matters a shit ton, because when we're 88 or 98 or 108 and we're looking back on our lives, are we going to regret living our lives for us or living our lives for other people? If we live our life for us, we're not going to regret it. If we have lived our lives for other people and for everyone else, and checking all of society's boxes, and we get to our deathbed and we're like, oh, I wish I would have done that, and I wish I would have gone for that, and I wish I would have gone for this. The biggest regret of dying people, according to the book by Bronnie Ware, is that people wished they had lived a life true to themselves and not the life that other people expected of them. So stop abandoning yourself. Stop saying yes when you mean no. Stop overscheduling and overfunctioning for everyone else. Make time to do nothing. Make time to remember that your worth is in who you are and not in what you do. Make your self-care a priority. The more you love yourself fully, the happier you'll be. The more you take care of yourself, the more you'll love your life and be a blessing to the world. Live your life for you. My intention for you is for you to truly love yourself and to demonstrate that in ways that show that you do, so that you're more comfortable showing up as your most authentic self in each moment. And my intention for me is I want to start showing up more solo, doing solo episodes and sharing the true me. And this was a step in the right direction for that. So I love that. And this is the work that I do with other people as their coach, helping them find and be their authentic selves. Some of the work I do anyway. I mean, I do other kinds of coaching, but this is really what I want to specialize in. And I'm good at it because I see them and know them and can walk along with them because I'm on the path myself. I might be a little bit further along on the path than others, but I'm still on the path. And I know the steps and the tools, and I can make people feel safe and comfortable. And I'm really good at holding space as people navigate making these kinds of brave shifts in their lives. So my website is reikiflowmn.com if you're interested in working with me. And you can reach out and schedule a free discovery call, or reach out to me via email at paula@reikiflowmn.com. And part 2 of this episode will be coming soon, where I talk about how being authentic has really paid off. So I just gave you a little bit of that, but I want to get into more about, how have I gotten the return on my investment? Real stories, actual events about how putting it into practice has changed my life. I feel like it makes sense to do that. I feel like someone has requested for me to do that, if I remember correctly. So stay tuned for more on this, for like a part 2. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I thought it was so fucking cool to do it. And I'm glad I did. And thank you for spending your precious time here with me. Life is so busy, and I'm very honored that you are listening and giving me your time. I hope my podcast gives you new perspective and sparks inspiration and fills you up and helps you in some way. And I hope this particular episode inspires you to get on the path of self-love and authenticity, because it matters and you will be so much happier. All right. Remember to follow along on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening, because I have a lot more amazing episodes coming up, not only interviews, but more solos like this. And please download, follow, and subscribe. That helps us keep going. And if you're feeling super generous, if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts, that would be amazing. And if you are only on Spotify, they allow you to rate. So those are awesome too. And if you know of anyone who would like this episode or benefit from it, please share it with them. Send them a link, text them. If you're feeling super generous, post about it on your socials, whatever feels best for you. And again, you're always welcome to email me at paula@reikiflowmn.com with whatever. Let's connect. Like, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast, is because I want to connect with more people. And you don't have to reach out about the podcast or about coaching or about anything. Let's just connect. Like, if you feel like you relate, let's talk about it. I'd like to meet you. All right. Thank you again for being here. Sending you so much love and strength to be yourself. Peace out.